Vai Zoomā ir uzlikts kamera un skaņa arī.
All right. Dear guests and participants, those here with us in person and also those watching remotely, I warmly welcome you here. Dear guests and participants, those here with us in person and also... Okay, I will start again. Something with Zoom connection. I welcome you here in the Baltic Digital Humanities Forum. My name is Sanita Reinsone, and it is my pleasure to serve as a chair of the program committee of this event. We have 2 exciting days and also intense days ahead of us. But first, let's start with the opening remarks. And it's a great honor for me to give a floor to Anda Čakša, the Minister of Education and Science of the Republic of Latvia.
Morning, dear researchers, colleagues, estimated guests. Welcome to the Baltic Digital Humanities Forum 2024. And at the beginning, there was some feeling that artificial intelligence is already here. But it's my really great pleasure to extend a warm welcome to each of you joining for this dynamic event. The Institute of Literature, Folklore and Art has shown great initiative in uniting our researchers' efforts in digital humanities and bringing all of you here today. And the special thanks that you invite me for opening speech, maybe because I'm so focused on the STEM subject that it's very important also that this conference is great opportunity to explore the cutting-edge development and transformative potential of digital humanities. The forum stands as a testament to our shared commitment to interdisciplinary dialogue and innovation in this ever-evolving field. From groundbreaking initiatives to the development of innovative tools and methodologies, our collective effort continues to shape the landscape of scholarship. By uniting academia, industry, government, and civil society, we can leverage our collective expertise to address pressing societal challenges and drive positive changes. I'm proud of our excellent research in language technology, both in our research universities and in the private sector. With the rise of artificial intelligence, the need for strong digital language tools in our national languages becomes clearer than ever before. Let's seize the opportunity to inspire one another, push the boundaries of what's possible, and pave the way for a future where the digital humanities flourish. Thank you all for your participation in the Baltic Digital Humanities Forum 2024. May this conference be productive and empowering, propelling toward new horizons of knowledge and understanding. Good luck and thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for your support and recognition. We very much appreciate that. The host of the Baltic Digital Humanities Forum is the University of Latvia, and we are very grateful for different support we have received and for the opportunity also to use this bright house for full 2 days. And typically this building, known as House of Science, resonates with discussions on physics and mathematics, medicine and astronomy, but for the next 2 days it will be enriched with digital humanities. And currently the University of Latvia is undergoing a very significant change. A new academic campus is being built, as you can see. Fundamental structural changes will take place soon, and very recently, just a month ago, the University of Latvia welcomed a new rector and his team. And it is my great pleasure to give floor to Gunārs Skitenbergs, the new Vice Rector for Research of the University of Latvia. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and to see you all around. And as I understand, this is a nice chance for the community to come back together, not online, but actually on the grounds. So that's very, very nice to see, and I hope that you will have plenty of chances to discuss many interesting things that you do in this field. And I can see already from my physicist point of view that this is a field that develops very quickly. There is a lot of interface with other sciences, tools that you can use and take advantage of. And I'm very proud to see the University of Latvia in the epicenter of this, with different institutes and faculties contributing, and I hope that after this undergoing change in the university structure will just empower digital humanities as a very good and interesting and promising sector. I think you'll have plenty of interesting discussions, not only about your personal subjects, but also about infrastructure, how to use the one that's already available on the European level, how to join it, how to add your resources to that infrastructure. And I think this shows very nicely how open science, accessible research resources are there. I'm happy to see also from the University of Latvia side that we have language technology initiative that supports also this event and also is a good push for the whole community in the University of Latvia and beyond to move forward in Latvia. I hope we can expand it on a Baltic level, and as you saw, the University of Latvia is expanding here as well with a new House of Letters that's going to be open in the 2025. So I hope that you will all soon meet here again and show where you have gone from the point today, moving the field very quickly forward on even a higher pace than everyone else in the world. So good luck with discussions, and very happy to see you here. So have a great event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to extend a warm welcome to the Estonian ambassador to Latvia, Erik Marmei, whose presence at our forum emphasizes the importance of Baltic cooperation in research, education, culture, and certainly digital humanities. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Sanita. Thank you, Minister, and Gunārs. Usually happens that when they can't reach anybody from the capital, then they call the embassy and ask ambassador to come and talk about things he or she doesn't necessarily always know all about. But I try my best. So, and of course, my talk is a little bit, or my welcoming words are very much Estonia focused, but I think that those remarks can be expanded to Latvia and Lithuania the same way. And to start with, I start with Jakob Hurt, who was Estonian, probably most famous national awakening person in the 19th century, who is being quoted as saying that if we are not to become great in numbers, we must become great in spirit. And by spirit, of course, he meant language, culture, and education. And I think that that spirit, or that phrase, has been a guiding principle for Estonia since middle of the 19th century. And it can be applied to Latvia and Lithuania in the same way. And I think that education is really the basis of not only of the national awakening and nationhood, but also statehood, but it's also the basis of digitalization. And it goes back to more than 30 years now, since regaining independence. There was Estonia, like Latvia and Lithuania, were kind of a backwards Soviet peripheries, and we had to do something about it. And we, I think, decided that we will jump into the bandwagon of digitalization. And it started with connecting schools to the internet. So in 1991 already, the first Estonian school had its own email address. And in 1994, the first school was fully connected to internet. And then in 1995, there was a program called Tiger Leap, which changed everything, as all the schools were connected to the internet by 1999. And also in 2000, digital signature became a law in Estonia, and few years later, a norm. I think that one can say that today Estonia, but also Latvia and Lithuania, are functioning e-societies, and we use digital services in our mobile phones today. In Estonia, we say that we save about 2% of GDP due to digital solutions. One could even say that everything has become digitalized around us and changed the whole methods and caused digital revolution also in education and science. The digital revolution, as I understand it, has emerged in society at large, and is probably why it had an impact on humanities research as well. The phrase digital humanities developed in the early 2000s in the mutual definition of disciplines as a kind of refresher course and programmatic movement. From the beginning, it has been used and defined by researchers from very different backgrounds who have also placed different hopes on it. Digital technology offers an innovative opportunity to process and analyze large amounts of data. Most of the research done on the digital humanities also involves the processing of large amounts of data, combining different types of data and diverse ways of data analysis and presentation. Thus, the core of digital humanities could also be called data-based humanities. Why I started with quoting Jakob Hurt. He organized around 1,400 volunteer collectors via a press campaign who visited almost every house in Livonia, at that time southern Estonia and northern Latvia, and collected about 124,000 pages of folklore. And when Tartu University started the digitalization of its materials in 2011, they started with the literature museum and the folklore archive as a testament to Jakob Hurt's work. They digitalized his works, all these 125,000 pages. And that material that he collected became available to the world 175 years after his birth. I think that the revolution has brought about opportunities, but also challenges and risks. And this applies to sciences, including humanitarian science as well. It is important to learn from each other and share best practices in order to develop your field of research. And I wish all the participants of the forum engaging discussions and fruitful debates, and follow the principle of Hurt, who said also that we have to be strong in national spirit, but also find international cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this speech, Ambassador. And now I will give a very short introduction about what we are to expect in these 2 days. And I'll go a little back to how this idea emerged about the Baltic Digital Humanities Forum. Generally, it was intended first as a meeting with some Lithuanian and Estonian colleagues to exchange experiences about how this field is developing in their countries, and also how they are integrating into European research infrastructures, which is quite a focus of Latvian DH community currently. And we chose an interactive format to evolve this event into a gathering of digital humanities communities. And this setup, both formal and informal, serves a meeting place for spawning new ideas and collaborations, which we really hope for. And also we are not far from each other, and there is some collaboration in specific areas of digital humanities, language technology, one of them. This is the first time actually when Baltic digital humanities communities have come together to learn more about each other, become acquainted with research, digital resources and tools, and also educational initiatives, because digital humanities are entering education, higher education more and more. However, we will have to wait a little bit longer for this, as 2 broad panels will be held on the first day today of the forum. And the first panel will discuss the role of research infrastructures in the future of research, and how they are perceived by researchers, by research infrastructures themselves, and also by policymakers. After a lunch break, the second panel will bring together representatives of digital humanities communities from Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, who will present developments and perspectives in this field in their countries. And the second panel discussion will be followed by a special workshop, which will take a deeper insights into a DARIA EU, the European research infrastructure for the arts and humanities, currently not really present here in the Baltics, except of one institution that has joined it. While the second day of the forum will also start with a very special workshop focused on language technology and in higher education and collaboration in this field. Following this, 45 research groups will take part in a dynamic poster and demonstration session to introduce themselves and work they are doing. And this session will be a very open forum for discussion and networking. It will take place in the second floor of this house. And I will conclude my short speech with 3 thank yous. And first, my deep gratitude to the program committee of the Baltic DH Forum, with whom it was really an honor and pleasure to work with. And second, thanks to my colleagues and my team at the Institute of Literature, Folklore and Art, who did a lot of practical work to make this event happen and run as smoothly as possible, I hope. And third, thanks to the projects and sponsors that to whom it was possible to organize such an event. This includes the Language Technology Initiative, the State Research Program in Digital Humanities, and also the Latvian Culture Capital Foundation has supported us. Thank you. And now we will take a very short break just to reorganize for the first panel. And It's my pleasure to now give floor to an expert of humanities research infrastructure, Kostis Dallas from the Vilnius University, Faculty of Communications, who will be moderating this. Welcome, Kostis, and just a couple of minutes while we bring everyone here and check the Zoom connection. Sorry.
Could probably be seated better.
They can
But maybe people come perhaps deliver their talk over there, but then come and join us down there. So yes. Hey.
Var paskatīties, vai tas jau ir skaņa? Zinu, ka es noslēdzu mikrofonu.
Just go and collect.
Zumā,
Diva pusstundas, tur nav joka lieta.
Nevajag obligāti aizpildīt, var, es domāju, mierīgi arī lakoniskāk izteikties. Visi būs tikai priecīgi. Tā. Jā. Es domāju, ka dzird tadas. Vajadzētu būt, ka dzird.
Jūs jau pat nemaz neredzat, cik viņi te visi ir, jā?
Tur nav, tur ir tikai speciālisti.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Tadas, do you hear us?
I am familiar with Tadas, but...
Right, yes.
Tadas, do you hear us? We see you speaking, but we can't hear you. But do you see us? Maybe write in the chat.
Uldī Zūma runātāji mēs varētu dzirdēt tagad. Viņš mūs dzird, vai mēs viņu dzirdam?
Okay, so you hear us and see us, but we still have to solve that you can also be heard.
Hi.
Hello, hi. I'm Kostis Dallas from Vilnius University. It's good to meet you, Tadas, and it's great that we have you today in the panel. Excuse me, does this work?
Yeah, but probably...
Jā.
Tas varbūt bija tas Zūma.
Jā, bet ja mēs šeit nogriezam to skaņu, tad... Mēs nogriežam šī datora skaņu, tad mēs viņu nevaram dzirdēt, jā? Bet ja mēs ieslēdzam, tad sāks atbalsts.
Varbūt nevajag uz skaļi.
Mazāk bišķi. Pirms tam mēs jau mēģinājām pieņemt.
Tas nāk no viņa Zūma.
Tagad noslēdz šito nost.
Foršs ambients.
Tas ir tas un tas, ko...
Varbūt kaut kāds mikrofons vai viss, lai...
Yeah, it's much more better. Thank you.
Tas nozīmē pie vienlīdzes vārds.
Kāpēc viņam nav bildi?
Yeah, it's much more better. Thank you.
Tad jāslēdz šitos te ārā.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we do.
Šitais nav labi.
Nav.
Tad tas ir jāgriež nost, tad viņš vienkārši no sākumā nedzird. Tā kā viņam būs prezentācija.
So hello again. My name is Kostis Dallas. I'm a professor, head of digital cultures and communication department in the Faculty of Communication, Vilnius University. I guess I'm an old-timer with one of the infrastructures in the field of digital humanities, Daria, because I was involved already with it as part of the Greek organization at the time since 2007, 2008, when we started the first steps in order to prepare Daria and establish Daria as an association. I am very, very pleased and honored today to chair this session. And it's a session that really deals with the question of national policies in the area of European research infrastructures in the humanities. And I have a formidable panel with me today that are going to be presenting, first of all, an initial statement about their perspective on the question of national policies, but also the way in which national policies also connect with trans-European initiatives in the field. So I've got Uldis Berkis, a senior expert and also head of unit in the Ministry of Education and Science of the Republic of Latvia. Tadas Junkevicius is the head of science in the Ministry of Education, head of research science in the Ministry of Education, Science and Sport of the Republic of Lithuania, and he's going to be joining us online via Zoom. Sally Chambers, an old friend and colleague and director of Daria EU, one of the three directors of Daria EU, the digital research infrastructure in the arts and humanities in Europe, and Christer Linden from the University of Helsinki, national coordinator, but also chair of the Clarin ERIC National Coordinators Forum, the other older and major and very mature research infrastructure at European level in the field of digital humanities. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Uldis for the first statement in this session.
Okay. Welcome. And actually, my role here is not only to represent the ministry, but I'm also at the moment the only representative to S3 from Latvia. Yeah? So we are reorganizing our system, but I have been involved in S3 processes, in fact, already since the Framework Program 7. And allow please to give a short overview to the topic of our panel. First, here is a short snapshot of our research system. And immediately I have to say that even as our research system may look small, the essential problem, and in fact the issue which we have still to solve, is that the public investment and contribution to the R&D, we are somewhat on the average of the region, but in Latvia, the business sector is very much underreporting their R&D investments, which has various origins. Generally, our system is undergoing a kind of defragmentation and change. Now this is reaching also the higher educational sector, and looking on the personnel which is immersed in the system, the headcount is not small at all, but we have the challenge that a lot of employees are just part-time employees. This is called to be solved in our nutshell career plan, career reform, academic career reform, and Latvia is also elaborating such a human resources strategy, because we clearly see in Latvia that we have for many things enough square meters, but square meters are not doing science, and we have in many areas really challenge with human capital. Now focusing more to what belongs to social sciences and humanities, and I hope you will forgive me that I am using this framework program SSH, yeah, Social Sciences and Humanities, but looking on the list of posters, for instance, I would say 1/3 of them are belonging rather to the social sciences than humanities. And regarding the national policies, we have, of course, midterm policy guidelines, which are developed for each 7-year financing period, which is adjusted to the multi-annual financial framework of the European Union. And until 2022, we had also in Latvia such priority directions in science. This is official translation. And they were 5 or 6, but pretty broad. And it was expected that the bottom-up instruments and also to some sense top-down instruments will work according to that. Starting with year 2022, we have now a real bottom-up approach, for instance, for focused grants of Latvian Research Council, and this is split just to the 6 field of science areas, and this is then competition between all the applicants and also inside of the field. And our national research programs, the first regulations were 1999, but the large programs started a bit later. They are defined according to law as top-down instrument, but there is a broad process of defining the priorities. Latvia is also pretty dependent on structural fund investments. In the previous periods, well, there was in fact a lot of investment into physical infrastructures. The structural fund contributed more than the national. Now, in this period, as far as the contributions to the infrastructures is decreasing, we are going in the direction of parity. And regarding the structural fund investments, of course, starting with 2014, the period 2014-2020, was the idea of smart specialization. Initially, the idea of smart specialization was also defined pretty broadly as a kind of directionality. And we had also a lot of instruments which were not bound to the smart specialization. For instance, the projects funded by European Social Fund and also by the Regional Development Fund Priority Objective 4, or now during this period we have, for instance, Recovery Fund, which are not tied to the smart specialization. Regarding the social sciences humanities, in our policy guidelines, it's clearly written that the instrument where we focus on is national research programs. And in this area, our ministry, in fact, is executing most of the programs. In the past, we had Letonica, which was one large program of substantial funding, and it covered a lot of domains inside of this one program. Now we have a bit different approach. We have a multitude of programs, and they cover broad spectrum of social sciences and humanities. Some of them are very multidisciplinary, some of them are in fact focused, yeah. And we have also gone somewhere to this 3-year cycles. In the past, we had for program a 4-year duration. We are now considering this that 3 years are in fact very short, so maybe for the next calls we will go again to the 4-year cycle. And one of the programs, of course, is on digital humanities. The first program was started 2020, and the second program is executed right now. Structural funds and smart specialization and SSG area. So here are, in fact, the 5 smart specialization areas of Latvia, and as you see, they are very much focused to, I would say, not exactly, let's say, engineering or natural sciences. There is a lot of multidisciplinarity, but what is clear in defining this smart specialization, that the industries involved behind the priorities are in fact industries, or mainly industries of goods. And in 2013, 14, 15, when the exercise of defining smart specialization went on, there was clear proposal to include also the creative industries. And for instance, Lithuania was including creative industries or some other social sciences, humanities topic, Estonia not, and in Latvia this was a pretty complicated discussion. First point, as I mentioned, there is also severe underreporting of R&D investments by various industries, and services industries as a rule are not very eager to report their R&D investment. Yeah? Statistically, this looks that they contribute pretty small amounts to the R&D. And the other point here in defining smart specialization, and this was really not about impact publications, top 10 and so on, but this was very much looking on the industries. In the European Union, we have very well functioning markets for goods, especially consumer goods, but markets for services, yeah, started in 2006, yeah, internal market for services with Bolkestein Directive, are in fact developing pretty sluggish, yeah? And even today, 20 years after this Bolkestein Directive, we can say that internal market for services is incomplete, it is in fact limited to some areas, and still there are many barriers. And this was, in fact, the problem of social sciences and humanities from 2 aspects to getting inside of this smart specialization. On the other hand, we had also so-named growth priorities until 2020. Now, aside of industrial policies, we have a lot of multidisciplinary research which very well fits with smart specialization. And what the conference is today about, digitalization and digital content, this perfectly fits with our smart specialization on the part of information, communication technologies and digitalization. Regarding the future, this is pretty unclear. There is a new document produced by European Commission this year in February. The name is Forging a Sustainable Future Together, and there are some proposals for cohesion policy beyond 2027, and it is not very clear the purpose of this document, as it is again going in the direction of performance-based funding. That means funding is going to something like convertible loans if you fulfill your objectives. Yeah? The problem with this kind of programming is that they finally tend to something which is very well countable. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very nice, you did your project, yeah? And the science is not exactly the domain where this 1, 2, 3, 4 counting functions very well. Now about our embedding in the European initiatives. Latvia actually was very active in joining member state initiatives. For instance, for Eranets, we used the opportunities which were given. We were part of HERA. We didn't join at the beginning. Then we have used also the opportunity to participate in joint calls for research projects in Chance, in Norface, in activities of Belmont Forum. And the last one was a special call by Urban Transformation Capacities, which was connected to New European Bauhaus. Yeah? This is, of course, again, a domain which is rapidly evolving. Joint programming initiatives, Latvia is a member in Cultural Heritage, Urban Europe, also 3 others, and also we participated in one call for the More Years, Better Lives. In Cultural Heritage, actually, we are actively collaborating with other countries to develop the proposal for the European Partnership of Cultural Heritage. Our participation in ERICS or S3 platforms. The first plan actually in Latvia emerged pretty late, 2016, and Latvia joined 8 ERICS. Some of them were S3 platforms at the moment. For social sciences and humanities, we joined European Social Survey, where we are participating also in research waves, and joined also the Clarin. And in the interim period, we also joined in SHAR, the demography, Eric, also so named the data collection wave. So this is clear contribution to data-driven science. Yeah? And now in 2024, we are looking for the addition, and of course Daria and is an ERIC, which is actually evolved from S3 project to the ERIC very well, and we would like to join it when preparing our updated S3 plan. And the other ones is, for instance, Guide or, for instance, Shelter, which are also of some interest to this domain. Yeah? So we are familiar that Daria is on our wish list. Sustainability of infrastructures. This is a big topic actually, but in Latvia we are somewhat happy that we have also the core or basic funding for scientific activity. And this is a budgetary position which has also very well increased. Of course, clearly there was energy crisis and all other possible crises, yeah, but the increase is anyway substantial. And this is very much allowing for the scientific institutions to maintain the infrastructure on a reasonable scale and to also let's say, the personnel, which is needed for them. So, in 2023, we did a pretty deep mapping exercise for research infrastructures, because we wanted to evaluate what happened in previous planning periods and what will be happen in the future. And we have, in fact, received this analysis. The peer review was involved. And regarding the use and deployment, the conclusion is that, of course, we have to intensify the joint use with the industry from one side, but also with external users, for instance, coming abroad. This is very important. Or the other possibility, if this is an e-infrastructure, then we have to motivate and develop services which are of interest for researchers in other countries. At the moment, we have in our system such things as core facilities, which are working only for infrastructure provision, and there is also a big challenge for research infrastructures. For instance, if you want to enter some kind of international project, for instance, in framework program, you have, of course, to present that you have already this infrastructure, yeah? But there is never a guarantee that you, after this project, you will find also something follow-up for reasonable use of this infrastructure. This is the problem of shallow markets, shallow infrastructures, and shallow ecosystems, which we have here, let's say, to solve, yeah? That sometimes this infrastructure is servicing just one project. Costs, the average cost, but it includes, of course, physical infrastructures, was about 11%, which is rather low. And the recommendations from mapping exercise were that we have, of course, to develop some competitiveness among infrastructures, yeah, picking winners, to use also management systems, approved management systems, the investment for future infrastructures, but this funding is rather low, yeah, from structural funds, must focus on replacement or energy efficiency, and only in cases where are strategic domains and greenfields, this can be some new infrastructure, yeah, but not servicing one of two projects, yeah. Joint use and also some kind of defragmentation in the system, and of course we have to update our national roadmap, especially regarding also participation in S3. So, today and tomorrow you will have a lot of contacts, and here is in fact the information about European partnerships, co-funded partnerships, which are envisaged for 25-27, the last strategic plan of Horizon Europe. And in fact, in the first part of Horizon program, there were no European partnerships, co-funded partnerships in social sciences, humanities, yeah? Now there are, in fact, by strategic program committee approved 3. The first one is resilient cultural heritage. We participated through the joint programming in preparation of it, and actually it was very well prepared. Finally, the presentation was brilliant. There was good reception from member states and European Union, yeah. This is a pretty large one because it will cover also something from a new European Bauhaus, yeah, ideas. But of course, this involves also collaboration from other ministries. We know that in Estonia this is very well solved, in Latvia not so easy. Social transformation resilience is another prepared for the next strategic plan and also approved, but this is not so clear at the moment. And virtual worlds is the third one, which is clearly something also for digital humanities, but this is still, I would say, rather incomplete. And the last slide here about open science, Latvia has in fact developed and also approved a special strategy for open science. We have established the special service center, which is governed by scientific institutions. Yeah? This is not governed by the ministry. It enters into bargaining with the ministry for various aspects, but it is in fact scientist-driven or scientific institution-driven. And there are several activities under this. This is regarding the future also for infrastructures, e-infrastructures. The first one is open data platform. Then we have also from Recovery Fund, and you will have information today on the language initiative, yeah, which is in the skills part. Then we have also introduced the data management plans as a requirement in national programs. We will have projects on higher education digitalization from European Social Fund. That means they are not tied to some smart specialization domain. And research sector digitalization, where we would like mostly focus also in connection with European Open Science Cloud. Surely Daria, like other infrastructures, is very active in this area. So I'm finishing this now. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much for truly thought-provoking statements. Many things to discuss. I would ask us all to keep our questions and our statements and our comments for the discussion, which I hope will be vibrant and illuminating. We're going to have plenty of time for discussion after the end of these presentations. So I would like now to invite to the floor the second speaker of this panel, second panelist, Tadas Knevicius from the Ministry of Education, Science and Sport of the Republic of Lithuania. Tadas is going to join us via Zoom. So, Tadas, you have the floor. Tadas, you have the floor.
Please give a sign of
We can hear you, Tade, but not so loud, actually. But yes, if we could just increase the loudness from our end, I wonder. But we can hear you. We can hear you, Tade, but not so loud, actually. But yes, if we could just increase the loudness from our end.
I'll try
But we can
to
hear you.
switch my. How about? Do you hear me? Yes. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Sorry for not being with you in Riga, and apologize for all the technical difficulties. I hope my background sound won't bother you too much. And now I'll share my presentation with you. And actually, I'm really honored that you invited me today to talk about Lithuania in case and about research infrastructure and its role in humanity. So my presentation will consist of two parts. First, I will introduce the Lithuanian research system and show
Tade, could you just hold on for a second? We'll try to fix the sound because it's really a bit difficult to follow. We have a reverb here. We need to deactivate all the microphones. Could you please wait for a second? Tade, could you just hold on for a second? We'll try to fix the sound because it's really a bit difficult to follow. We have a reverb here. We need to deactivate all the microphones. Could you please wait for a second?
Well, so here are the main facts about not well. So sorry for the sound, but okay. So here, India, and I want to stress.
I don't know. Any
This one's
ideas?
muted as well, right? Because
Not
we need
yet.
everything muted and without sound.
I hear you well. Can you hear me? Yeah, we hear you also now.
Right. This is okay. We'll try. Okay. So let's start again. I mean, and I apologize for this, Tadej. If you could just start again, and we'll see what we can do. Do the best that we can. So it's going to be a bit difficult, but I think we can try to listen. So let's start again. I mean, and I apologize for this, Tadej. If you could just start again, and we'll see what we can do. Do the best that we can. So it's going to be a bit difficult, but I think we can try to listen.
Okay, so I'll start again. So today I'll present you briefly about the Lithuanian research policy and the role of research infrastructure in humanities and what we are currently doing in Lithuania.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Tadej. It was after about 1/3 of your talk, the sound improved quite significantly, so I think we were able to hear all about all these exciting developments and the situation in Lithuania. So moving on now to our next speaker, Sally Chambers, director of Daria Europe, will take the floor. And could we just perhaps switch this reverb, because I think it's related to our online link, so that, because now that we start speaking in the room, perhaps we don't want that. Thank you. Tadej, if you mute your microphone, I think that would be fantastic, because then perhaps we won't hear the reverb.
Great. Perfect. We've got the sound mastered. So I'm delighted to be here, and I just wanted to say that my colleague Edward Gray, who unfortunately can't be with us today and has been doing a lot of work with Sanita to organise this, he sends his best wishes, but he's getting French nationality today, so that had to take priority. So I'm here to sort of look at this, so Daria, and how we can optimize European and national infrastructural efforts. So how we can combine what the colleagues have been saying from the policy level at the national level, and see how that fits in at the European level. And I'm delighted to hear that Daria is on the wish list for Latvia, and maybe for the Baltic states in general. So let's see, here we go. So Daria has been mentioned in both earlier presentations, but as you may be a little bit less familiar with it, I'd just like to introduce it in a little bit of detail. So Daria is the digital research infrastructure and the art for the arts and humanities. And as Kostis said at the beginning, he was already in the preparing Daria phase that ended in around 2010. We were formally constituted as an ERIC, that is the European Research Infrastructure Consortium, in 2014. And like Clarin, we were an S3 landmark, so that is a successful operational research infrastructure in 2016. And all of these landmark infrastructures are currently being evaluated by S3 to move forward for the next coming years. So just a little bit about Daria. So Daria's mission is to empower research communities with digital methods to create, connect, and share knowledge about culture and society. So on both presentations, it's been great to see how both digital humanities and cultural heritage, which is absolutely essential for humanities research, have been listed in national research policy objectives. And how are we going to do this? So Daria is all about sharing knowledge, tools, data, our networks or community, and also really being the voice of the arts and humanities, so really advocating for arts and humanities alongside all of the other academic disciplines. So here we are, we've got currently 22 members of Daria across the different countries. Normally you would see pretty flags, but they seem to be interoperable with this system. And we're looking forward to seeing new countries joining soon. We also have many cooperating partners, and as Sanita said at the beginning, this is an first important step towards establishing national membership in a particular country. Our latest country to join was Spain, and that was wonderful because Spain joined Daria and Clarin simultaneously. So that was a really interesting boost for the humanities at the infrastructural level. So here is my colleague Ed, so Edward J. Gray, who is the National Coordination Officer. So he's employed by Daria EU to help each of the different countries in setting up and establishing Daria in their country. And it's very similar to Christian, who's going to talk to in a second regarding Clarin. But in Daria, we have the National Coordinators Committee, and we have Nanette Rissler-Pipke from Daria, Germany, who is the chair, and Martin Lochak from the Czech Republic, who is the vice chair. So we work together to make sure that we can support national needs at the European level. One of the most important aspects of Daria is our tools and services catalogue. So here you can see we have a number of core services, such as the Social Sciences and Humanities Open Marketplace that we collaborate on together with Clarin and SESTA, and I will talk about that in more detail. And then the community services. These are just two examples actually from France. Isidore and Nakala, so they're publications and open research repositories, but the idea is that national contributions to Daria are displayed on the Daria EU website. So any national databases, national tools and services can be made visible at the European level. Also, as we're in the Baltic region, it may be very interesting to think about a regional hub. So there's been a lot of mentions of collaborations between Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia here this morning. So could it be interesting, and I know that there is the DHNB conference as well in digital humanities, so there are lots of collaborations already in the Baltic region, but it could be interesting to think about having a Daria regional hub to even further foster collaboration between the different infrastructures. So, in terms of our strategic plan, so our strategic plan currently runs from 2019 to 2026, so we're sort of 2/3 of the way through our strategy. So we're already starting to think about our next strategic period. And for example, one of the issues that has been identified is how can we bring the arts? So Daria is humanities and arts may be slightly less represented at the moment. So we're looking forward to the future. However, within Daria, we'll have 4 strategic pillars. The marketplace, which is where the reusable tools, services, data and knowledge happen, where we make that happen. Education and training, which has been mentioned on several occasions here. The community aspects, such as transnational and transdisciplinary working groups. So this is where the real way to involve researchers in the day-to-day working of Daria, and how this can be a bottom-up grassroots initiative. And of course, in this session, we've talked a lot about policy and foresight, and this is how we can be the voice of the arts and humanities in the European policy landscape. So this is one of our core services, and as we said, we do this together. We formally contribute together with SESTA, the Social Sciences Data Archives, Clarin and Daria, but we're also, and I will come back to that later, the Social Sciences and Humanities Open Cluster. So there's around 11 or 12 different social sciences and humanities research infrastructures, how we can strengthen this collaboration here. And this is not just a catalogue or a marketplace for these tools. We really make them as part of the day-to-day research work of researchers. So we contextualize those tools, we take great care to curate those tools, and we also make sure that we build in the community around those tools. Another core service that may be of interest is Daria Campus. So we were talking about data stewardship expertise or other data or digital methods in the arts and humanities. both researchers in Latvia could find interesting research tools and educational tools in here, but this is also a place where you could host some of the tools that you've developed in the Latvian context here as well. So this may be an interesting thing to look at. Here, diving into a little bit more detail, here you can see the range of different working groups. So multilingual DH, for example, bibliographic data, theatralia, women writers. There are many different kinds of working groups, and that's how a way researchers can practically get involved in the day-to-day working of Daria. And of course, we have policy and foresight, and this is really about advocating for the arts and humanities in the broader spectrum, and I'll come back to that in a second. So now this was a sort of short sketch of the European infrastructure. Now I want to go down and look a bit at the national. And for many, many years, I've been based in Belgium. So I want to show you a bit of the Belgian perspective to see how we do this in the Belgian context. So here, if you were to click on members and partners and click on Belgium, here you can zoom in. At the policy level, we have the Belgian Science Policy Office, or BELSPO, who is our ministry representative at the European level. And we also have a national coordinating institute, and that is Ghent University and the Ghent Centre for Digital Humanities. So I'm sure you can make the links to your own institutions and, for example, in Latvia as well. Just to give you a couple of hints of how it went. So Belgium was a founding member of DARI EU, so one of the 14 members that was originally there. And here is, back then, is from our Secretary of State, who signed up to become a member on behalf of Belgium. In both of the Latvian and Lithuanian presentations just now, a national roadmap was mentioned. Here, Belgium is slightly more complicated because we have different regions, but here, for example, Ghent Centre for Digital Humanities is part of the Flemish region, and we have a Flemish research infrastructures roadmap. So here you can see Daria was recognised as unlocking the scientific potential of digital research in the humanities at the Flemish level. And this was first published in 2020, and there'll be an update of this for the new phase of the ESRI roadmap as well. So how we organise ourselves in Belgium is that we have several digital humanities research centres. So there may be echoes of this in the Baltic regions as well. So, for example, Ghent Centre for Digital Humanities, but also the Platform of Digital Humanities at the University of Antwerp, the Platform for Digital Humanities at the Dutch-speaking university, the Free University in Brussels, and the Leuven Centre for Digital Humanities as well. And what is very interesting is, and I will come back onto that in a second, we also have the Institute of the Dutch Language that we collaborate closely with Clarin on. So at the Flemish level, we decided that we wanted to work very closely between Clarin and Daria. Clarin and Dario. And I don't think I need to introduce Clarin, and I can leave that to the experts in a second. However, it was really important that we combine the strengths of Clarin and Daria within the Belgian context. So Clarin and Daria are the most important European level research infrastructures in the humanities. So it's really important we work together. And we have a look at different aspects. So if you think of Clarin, they're more perhaps digitally literate, they have more computational skills, and then we can bring the arts and humanities and cultural heritage much more closely. And I think this was mentioned in both of the previous presentations, the importance of open science, and we see this collaboration as paving the way towards humanities researchers participating actively in the European Open Science Cloud. So, similarly, a little bit later, it's interesting to see who wins the research infrastructure context in the country. I think it was Clarin here in Latvia, but it was slightly the other way round in Belgium. So Daria came first and then Clarin, but here you can see that Belgium has officially supported Clarin at the national level from 2001 onwards. And just wanted to say that what is really important is that infrastructurally we embed this work in the day-to-day work of humanities researchers. So here, this is the Claria life cycle, and what we do is make sure that all of these steps, so for example, aggregating data, enriching it, contextualizing it, analyzing it and sustaining it, so the whole humanities data life cycle, we have tools, services and training materials to support that all the way through. And just a practical example here. So, for example, how we move from cultural heritage to digital humanities. So on the left, we actually have handwritten testimonies from legal records from the early 16th and 17th centuries here. They are used using the infrastructure within Claria VL. We have crowdsourcing, so we have experts who can actually type over these transcriptions and transcribe them, and we use these transcriptions as a basis for training models in order to improve handwritten text recognition. So when the cultural heritage data resources have been pre-prepared, then we can start using our text analysis pipelines to undertake named entity extraction, social network analysis, and sentiment and emotion mining, for example. So this is an ideal example of a workflow where Daria and Clarin work together in order to make humanities research with digital methods possible. And just a few slides to wrap up. I think the European Open Science Cloud, or EOSC, is going to become even more important in the coming years. And only yesterday, so I've updated my slides, the first indications from the next phase, or the EU node, so this is the operational European Science Cloud, were launched on the European Commission website. So this is very new and off the press, so I would perhaps go and have a look at this information there. In the future, it will be really important that we, so this is kind of one of the EU nodes at the center, but the goal of EOSC is that we become an EOSC federation. So we'll have various different nodes. They could be national nodes, for example, or they could be thematic nodes. So here there are some papers about this EOSC federation. But I think it's really important to look at this in the context of research infrastructures. So what I like to say is that it's the S3 research infrastructures, such as Daria and Clarin, that actually bring the science into the European Open Science Cloud. So the technology is the cloud, but we need the science to be inside. Otherwise, what is the point? And I just wanted to briefly mention the Oscars project. So this is a new project that has just been launched, and this is where we as research infrastructures all work together. So Daria and Clarin are part of the Social Sciences and Humanities Open Cluster, but we have 4 other science clusters as they're known. So astronomy and particle physics, for example, is the ESCAPE cluster. We have the ENVI cluster, which is environmental sciences. We have EOSC Life for the life sciences, and the photon and neutron sciences, that's the PANOS cluster. So this is why I think this advocacy is really, really important, that we work together with people like CERN from the particle astronomy and particle physicists. We work with all of the different disciplines and make sure the voice of the arts and humanities is served. And with this new Oscars project has just launched in the January this year. And what is maybe most interesting, and perhaps some of you have already seen this call, there is actually call open now, and there'll be another call open in November for open science projects. So 16 million euros from this project will go towards stimulating open science in across Europe. So these are small-scale-ish projects between 100 and 250,000 euros, between 1 and 2 years. And the idea is to really bring the scientific community into EOSC. So the first call closes in about 3 weeks' time, the 15th of May, but there will be a second call in November. So this may be a way to engage with EOSC, but in connection with the research infrastructures and within the science clusters. So just to wrap up, if you see the SSH Open Marketplace as the social sciences and humanities view on the European Open Science Cloud, and it's really important as individual service providers or research infrastructures that we engage it. And as part of one of the EOSC future projects, we developed a service provider's maturity matrix. So this is how you can become more aware of it and step by step involve your tools and services within the EOSC context. Here, for example, and I think we mentioned recovery funds as well for data science and data stewardship. Here in Belgium, we have the FedOSC, so this is the Federal Open Science Cloud in Belgium, where we're really looking at data stewardship, how we can share our tools and services with EOSC. And, for example, here, this is the social science and humanities. This is a combination between CESTA and Daria at the Belgian level and how we can onboard that into the European Open Science Cloud. And my last slide actually comes from Italy, and I think this is a really interesting project in the Italian context under the Recovery Fund as well. So many of the social sciences and humanities research infrastructures such as Clarin, Daria and Iris for heritage science have worked together to form something called H2I EOSC, which is a kind of emerging EOSC thematic node which unites humanities and cultural heritage in the Italian open science context. So I'll leave it there. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sally. And I think that many of us are keeping furiously notes at all the interesting and important information, very useful information that you've been sharing with us, for situating also Daria and the European infrastructures in the S3 roadmap originally into the landscape of national developments as well. And I think that's a very, very important issue that I'm sure will come up in discussion, how we can best articulate these two levels of action. So we're moving now to the last speaker of that last panelist, the initial statement of this session, Krister Linden, and Krister from the University of Helsinki, and also National Coordinator of Digital Humanities in Finland, and Chair of the Clarin National Coordinators Forum. So you have the floor, Kristen.
Okay. So after some initial difficulties, here we are. And let's see, maybe I can.
Kuru tā prezentācija par tā? Folderī. Kuru tā?
So as we're waiting for a technical problem to be resolved, is it?
So we'll see if this. If the screen stays, we'll see. Well, okay. Clarin has been mentioned in all of the speeches so far. So what I'm going to do is I'll introduce more of what Clarin is as an example of a research infrastructure. So we got beautiful outlines of the policy landscape, but this will then go more into detail of an example. And so if we think of what Clarin provides, first of all, it's a common language resource and technology infrastructure, and we got onto the S3 roadmap in 2006 and gained ERIC status in 2012. And since Sally mentioned that there is a slight competition, then we actually hit the ERIC roadmark a couple of years before Daria, but that's a side remark. And then we were both landmarks in 2016. And the goal is to be an easy and provide easy and sustainable access to data, tools, and other resources for scholars of the social science and humanities. And digital data is then compassing written, spoken, video, and multimodal material. And the tools are there to let the researchers discover, analyze, and combine data wherever they are located, so that it's intended as a distributed infrastructure. And to implement that, we need single sign-on, so that you don't need to have a different sign-on every time you go somewhere else. You can get around with your own university account. And there we then implement an ecosystem for knowledge exchange, and many of the services are already integrated into EOSC. We do this by adhering to the FAIR principles, and those are most likely very well known to you: findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. But the way it's done is with persistent identifiers to resources, that is data sets and tools, and then we need to make sure that they are properly managed and curated, have good metadata and licenses, and that they are openly available in repositories. And then when we promote open science, then that is by sharing and reuse of language data through sustainable data registries. And in addition, we need the data and the tools to be interoperable. So the data needs to be annotated with some statement of what format it is in. And then the tools also need to say what kind of data they are able to process and what they will give out. And together, that will then make the infrastructure interoperable. And for this, we need a common metadata framework. And to enforce this common metadata framework, we need a distributed network of certified data repositories. Now, on the national level, we, of course, have the data sets, but the particular goal of a European research infrastructure is then to promote comparative perspectives, multidisciplinary collaboration, transnational research, and also make sure that responsible data science is adhered to. And this means culturally, legally, and ethically responsible. Since we're operating all through Europe, we need to support linguistic diversity, and we need to cover many languages, but especially all those that are spoken in Europe. And they all need tools and language resources for all the modalities, that is written, spoken, and signed languages. And then we need to be discipline agnostic, because we need to serve all the disciplines within social sciences and humanities. This is a good way of looking at what a research infrastructure provides. In natural sciences, they need to get closer to the object of interest. So they do that with a microscope to see the small details, or with a telescope to see faraway objects. But in social sciences and humanities, we are in the middle of things, so we actually need to kind of back off and get an overview. So we need a macroscope. And I think this characterizes what both Daria and Clarin are trying to provide. We're trying to help you get an overview of all the data that is out there, because life is infinitely complex. Clarin is already established here in the Baltic region, and we currently have 24 members, 2 observers and a linked party. And one of the members is also from South Africa, and the linked party is from the US. And all over Europe, there are 70 centers that form the backbone of Clarin. They all have a strong focus on fairness and interoperability, supporting federated login and central metadata harvesting, so that all the resources that are available in Clarin are visible through the VLO, or the Virtual Language Observatory. And then we also can chain the services from one country to another, and that is done via the switchboard, and I will get back to both of those. And then we also have knowledge centers where special types of expertise is available if you need to ask about some particular topic. So we have 25 of those knowledge centers. And Clarin works, I guess most of you are familiar with this. Researchers develop resources or tools, and then they deposit them at a Clarin center. And then metadata is provided to describe the data and tools. And the Virtual Language Observatory, as I mentioned, I mean, it's a way to find all the resources that are available through Clarin. So you have faceted research, and there are links to landing pages. And for openly available resources, there are download options. But if the resource is not openly available, it may require login or filling in a research plan, then there are also details on how to access those. And all the resources should ideally, of course, have a license, otherwise you don't know what you can do with them. And there are details on technical features. And now, because, as I mentioned in the beginning, the interoperability thing means that you can get a list of tools by which you can process a data set when you go to the virtual language observatory as well. And more importantly, when you use the resource, there is a way to cite the resource and a guideline for how to do that. And that is an important incentive for researchers to donate data sets and tools to these research infrastructures, is that they then get cited, and this increases visibility and impact of the research they have done. And then, as I mentioned, the language resource switchboard, it's actually an interface where you can upload a data set, and based on what you upload, a list of tools will be recommended to you, saying that, well, these are the tools that you could apply to this data set, and then you can select which ones you want to use and actually then process the data set. And that is, I mean, it's part of the pipeline that Sally also mentioned for Daria. Clarin has taken the many resources in the Virtual Language Observatory and grouped them into resource families according to resources that are more widely available across Europe. And as you can see here, there are mediated communication corpora, and then historical corpora, newspaper corpora, parliamentary corpora. I'll get back to that in a minute. And then signed language resources and spoken corpora. But then also lexical resources of various kinds and tools. And also the tools have been grouped into resource families, because very often the corpus query tools are available in many flavors in all countries. And then you need to do normalization and part of speech tagging as a basic processing step. Well, to give an example of what Clarin can do on a European level, we have the Clarin flagship project called Parliament. It took the proceedings of 29 European parliaments and created a corpus of them. Initially, these had been researched in the various countries, and they all had different ways of annotating the data sets. So the effort made by Clarin was to unify the annotation. And then, of course, to make sure that there was a representative section of those data sets available across Europe. So that was done over several years. And now they are all linguistically annotated, and named entities have been recognized, and other rich metadata has been provided. And this is a good example of Clarin cooperation providing interoperability. So it means that, as I said, the annotations have been unified, and the content is now in overlapping periods, and you have the metadata contains speakers, parties, sessions, reactions, and so on in all of these data sets, and the same linguistic annotations. And then one thing to be able to search in all of these data sets, even if you may not be able to speak or understand all of these languages. So for indexing purposes, they were all machine translated to English. And that was produced with the Opus MT language models. And then there was some post-processing to correct translations of proper names. But otherwise, that is now there and available for further cross-country research. But if you want to learn more about Clarin, you can go to the Newsflash. It's a monthly update of what is happening within Clarin, or you can look at Tour de Clarin, which presents the various centers in Clarin. You can get impact stories where you can hear about things that Clarin has done for the society and research. And if you go to the Clarin Learning Hub, then that is where we especially cooperate with Daria on providing teaching and other resources. So if you want to integrate the research infrastructures into your curricula, then that's a great place to start. And for the administratively inclined people among us, then the Clarin value proposition, you can see what it is that it exactly brings to you if you decide to join Clarin. Now, all of these countries have already joined, but it's good to be reminded of all the good things that Clarin brings to you. And if someone is here from a country that has not yet joined, then you can get advice on that as well. So, with this, I hope to see you all virtually at Clarin. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Christer, for this wonderful and very, very informative and useful presentation as well. I mean, you've already got now these two large-scale landscapes of the two infrastructures, the more mature Clarin, of course. You're right on talking about this kind of healthy competition, which is very productive, actually, because of the complementarities that we saw, because I think that all of you would probably have already seen how these two infrastructures are slightly different in what they do and complementary in many, many ways. So the elephant in the room, of course, is Estonia. I wanted to say that the organizers, of course, invited a representative of the Estonian ministry to be with us today, but due to scheduling issues it was impossible to overcome. We don't have that representation, but we all hope, of course, that in the next session, the afternoon session, through the great services and knowledge and expertise of Mari Sarv and Kadri Vide from the Estonian Literary Museum, who are very, very experienced, we're going to get that picture of all three Baltic countries with regard to the digital humanities initiatives. And so I would like now to open the discussion, both to the floor and also to participants in the panel. I'm sure that panelists will have things to say to each other, and I would warmly invite you to share these. We've got about half an hour for our discussion. But before going back to the panel, I was wondering if one of the participants from the floor would like to either ask a question or make some comment or statement. Please identify yourselves and offer your question or comment. So the floor is yours. Please raise your hand so that I know if more than one person is, and I can sort of schedule you and schedule perhaps the microphone to circulate around. I mean, if we don't have anyone, I will do the honors and circulate the microphone. So yes, please.
Well, one thing that neither of us mentioned, but is making waves in the community, is our large language models, and adapting the infrastructure to large language models, and how to create them, how to fine-tune them, and how to then also apply them in research. That is actually one of the big things that we will need to focus on in the next few years. But maybe I can then throw the gauntlet to how do you, Sally, see this in Daria?
I think this is very interesting. So it was in Helsinki in December, The Clarin Libraries Group organised a workshop on large language models. So I was lucky enough to go along and try and put the Daria perspective there. I think, so within Daria and Clarin, we've got something called the CENL, so that's the Conference of European National Librarians. So these are the directors of the national libraries in Europe, and it's great that Anda from the National Library of Latvia is here as well, and we've been working together. But this new group, this CENL Dialogue Forum, is to find a way to structurally collaborate with the national libraries, because I think lots of these large language models, I think the Clarin data is really essential to be able to train them, but we need to work with the national libraries, the national archives, to get the high quality cultural heritage data enabled to be able to really do humanities research. So I think this is a great area of collaboration, but we need to do it together with the cultural heritage institutions, I would say.
Thanks. I mean, I wanted to say that I kept that note actually from your latest bit in your presentation about large language models. And I was just thinking back also on the presentation. I think it was the presentation by Uldis in the beginning, when we were talking about these initiatives, SSH partnerships, and there's one clearly from virtual worlds there that was already there in the picture, and I was wondering again if these new possibilities and dramatic changes that generative conversational AI is already making to the everyday practices in fields, certainly in industry, but also in research, might need also to be accommodated within the framework of policies. And thinking of this, but not just about AI, but more broadly, thinking about the humanities, right, being a very established field, the arts and humanities, social sciences too. But then again, thinking about this expression of shallow ecosystems that we see when we shift to these new ways of conducting research, with digital methods, digital tools, in the field of the humanities and the broader humanities, perhaps more acutely than if you take, for instance, the area of computational linguistics that is very, very established, right? I was wondering what might be the reflections of the panel, especially at national level. I mean, Tadas, Uldis, about how one can affect policies at the national level that can foster competences in this area, because there's a dearth of competences, I think, as reflected also in programs of traditional curricula in our universities, but also in the actual bodies on the ground. You know, if we sort of look at the journals, the major journals in the humanities, and some of the social sciences, we don't see perhaps as much use as we see certainly in the natural sciences or in other disciplines. So I was wondering what your reflection might be on that, Uldis, and also Tade as well, please.
So, I have no idea. Yeah, I will be very short in my expression. Regarding all the controversial issues or very prospective issues, I would say that small countries in European Union usually are first looking what the Union on the pan-national level is doing, because all the initiatives, all the new opportunities or new risks and so are coming at the speed which really small countries have limited opportunities to process on the national level. Clearly, this started with all the pandemics and energy crisis, and now we have artificial intelligence. And this is, of course, a challenge if you are not always very well connected. And in my opinion, such an example is EOSC, which started maybe 10 years ago, this idea. But the countries, the so to name new member states, were actually involved absolutely marginally in this EOSC. And now we have the situation, we are planning, like Lithuania, really also some structural fund money
to build this connection to EOSC, but the Commission in Brussels, let's say as usually 500 kilometers around Brussels, is happening everything which is important, is already discussing about the future of the EOSC, how it could be, let's say, organized after 27. And this is one of the problems which I very clearly see in this kind of disconnection which we have, and especially in this research infrastructures issue. Thank you.
Maybe I...
Tade, I want... Yes,
Oh,
please, Sally.
please.
Here. Tade, would you like to go? Can't hear you. Perhaps it's Sarah. Yes, please, Sally. Tade? Can't hear you. Perhaps it's Sarah.
So actually, it's an opportunity for humanities to use artificial intelligence and from my perspective, it's researchers who should drive this change. And there are discussions ongoing even on OECD level, on European level, how to use that. But from my perspective, it's a tool we can use like when we started using internet or other tools that change our lives. So it can, I know, free the hands of researchers to do research and create something new. And artificial intelligence can do the work that is just routine without any creation ideas. So I guess that can be driven by researchers, and then policymakers should create a policy and an environment that is friendly for researchers to work in. Of course, there should be some guidelines on the principles, values, how you do avoid cheating with the topic for employees to see how artificial intelligence can be used not in the good ways, and how we will use that research. But I guess, as I said, Clarion community in Kenya showed the example that if we talk about humanity, not necessarily we don't talk about Superman because it comes together. So I guess researchers could be more open to new skills, new partnerships, and create something that is up to date and set some kind of the policy by itself.
Thank you. Sally.
Yes, well, I'd like to agree with both of you. So you mentioned connecting, and you mentioned the importance of working together with researchers. So now sort of thinking at the national level. So I think, and maybe you can add something from the Clarion perspective in a second, the role of the national coordinator in a particular Daria or Clarion country is really, really important, to work closely with the ministries, and sometimes research, cultural heritage and open science could be in up to 3 different ministries as well. So it's about making those interconnections between the right policy players at the national level. But I think also as infrastructures, we are supposed to be engaging with the research communities. So it's about working with the researchers, like in the presentation we had all of the different digital humanities research centres, and it's their role to engage with the researchers. So just remind you about the Oscars project. I think this is a sort of a low barrier way to try and start engaging with open science and trying to get some of this money to come to the different researchers who may not yet be engaged in the infrastructures as well.
Krista?
Yeah, so I think that's an important perspective, and I'd like to broaden it also through large language models. There is a way to cooperate with industry. So by creating these large language models, then they need to be maintained, of course, over time, and that is where there may be task for the industry, and I'm sure we all have also heard about these industry infrastructures that are popping up, these edicts, and especially in this area we then have the cultural heritage data space, but we also have the language data space, and in that language data space we then specifically have EDIC, which is now also a player and an infrastructure that we need to take into consideration.
Well, thank you, and I think that probably a follow-up question from this, if I may just... Anyone from the floor has a question or has a comment now? Yes, please.
Well, thanks for this discussion and for bringing up the LLM.
Can you identify yourself, please?
Yes, sorry, I'm Normans Grūzītis from University of Latvia. So regarding LLMs, of course, we know that there are a lot of use cases in industry and for practical applications, but specifically for the DH research community, I know that in Finland you have already trained your first very large model, but are there already some use cases or stories how this model is used specifically for DH research?
Well, I don't know if they've been integrated into research projects per se yet, but I mean, I've heard how colleagues are using large language models. I mean, if they're in a hurry to write a paper, then they might ask the large language model to summarize some of the paper and put a reference and of course check whether that was actually stated. But then also using the large language models for practical writing. What I was or I'm hoping for is that we would get specialized large language models so that you could have a large language model that is very well versed in maybe ancient times, and then you could ask various questions of it and maybe get pointers to literature that you can then go and read up on, because we still need to keep a human in the loop here so that we do fact-checking, because the large language models are notorious for inventing facts. So, but they may serve as an inspiration and make sure that there are sources that you haven't missed. That's how I see it. So when you write a paper, ideally you would get a first review round by letting the large language model comment on it and make sure that you haven't missed anything, and then you continue updating it, and then you send it to review. So then that means that maybe the review process will be smoother.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. That's. I think it's in the back of our minds. This AI question is really very, very much in the back of our minds. Some of us are also trying to understand what is happening there more concretely. By going back to the policies and the challenges issue at national level, I was wondering, I'm sort of thinking a bit of this relationship between, let's say, scholarship and research on one side, and society on the other side. I mean, the case of the useful disciplines, very often this means industry, right? It's money that is being made. In the case of some of the humanities, it means a relationship with fields, such as, for instance, the cultural heritage institutions, or the less lucrative area of the arts, especially the high arts, the different kinds of arts, not of all having like a footprint that is economic, that is lucrative in a way. So I was wondering if the panel has any views on ways in which such cooperations between scholarship on one side and this broader area of institutions or activities, fields of creative activity could be fostered through policies, through schemes, through measures, etc.
Maybe I could start. So I think I mentioned briefly in the presentation that, well, firstly, Daria is about the arts and humanities, and maybe the arts is a little less represented currently. So this is going to be very much part of our next strategy. But how we've been doing it, for example, is we have something called the Daria theme. So these are every 2 years. So we have working group funding in 1 year. So all of the working groups we showed, and then we have a Daria theme, which is selected by the board of directors. So a couple of years ago, we had a double theme about arts and COVID-19. And this was a really interesting way because this was during the pandemic, so everybody was having to deal with that at a personal level, but also a professional level. And we launched this call, and it was really, really exciting to see new communities being engaged. So, for example, I can remember there was a community from Belgium who had engaged in this. They were performers, so music, theatre, and these kind of performance arts. And they were dealing with the fact that they couldn't have performances because there was lockdown. So they came up with really creative ways to show how they could digitally perform, so Zoom presentations, but also some really 3D so I remember there was a particular music performance where they were recording and then digitally enhancing these music performances. So I think if we can stimulate either, for example, at the level of the research infrastructure through these cascading-like grants, we can start to engage people who may not yet be engaged with the infrastructures.
In my opinion, of course, arts, design, literature, and so can always try to service, let's say, big paradigms, well, also the big monies. For instance, the green agendas, yeah, and this is, in my opinion, not the optimal way. The research is always needed to invent really something innovative, how this can be done. For instance, if we consider energy efficient buildings, the arts, the architecture can propose how this can be done, let's say, with new aesthetics, which is this idea of new European Bauhaus, and in fact demonstrate also the contribution of humanities, creating additional, of course, added value, but also creating new synergies. Yeah? And in my opinion, this is where you need a really creative activity and really to be, let's say, open and access this all new paradigms. Thank you.
Tade?
We can't hear you.
Thank you.
We have to do. So one is evaluation criteria, another one is funding. So if we have researchers,
We can't hear you.
applications, but make an impact, societal impact. So after gaining the new knowledge, writing the book, monography, publication, then they need to somehow transfer it to
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Krister?
Yeah, I think it was an important point by Tadic that it's difficult for on the government level to be too specific. So they need to give money rather to a broad direction and then let the research community come up with ideas that may then also be evaluated in some competitive fashion internationally and the best ideas selected for further funding. But so I think that point needs to be stressed. So you can direct in a broad way where to go, but not specify the means and how to achieve that.
Yes, if I may add, my personal opinion on this is really, I agree very, very much with this. I'm really very, very relieved that I hear this from you, Tadas, because, and from you also, Krista, that because, I mean, we've seen very recently, not very recently, the last few years, for instance, from the European Union, the European Commission programs, we've seen too much micromanaging on research agendas. We've seen calls that were so narrow and specific that were really troubling with regard not just to the general issues of academic freedom and the ability to conduct research, but most importantly with the fact that we don't tap the potential of researchers if we frame these things too narrowly. So I fully agree that we need broad policies that really try to see what are the capacities in the field and develop these capacities, both from the side of research, but also from the sides of the creative fields and art as well. So thank you for this. So I think we're getting pretty close to the time in which we would need to wrap up this discussion. So I was wondering if there are any, last moment interventions from the floor. Anyone who'd like to say something at this stage? If you are, please.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say, don't rush away. I will have some practical things to say about posters and food. Sorry, because
I was going to give you the microphone for that, but yeah. All right, yeah. So, hope dies last, as we say, for comments from the floor. Anybody else, would like to say something? No, in that case, this is last statements or last words or closing statements, very brief ones from the panel.
Yeah, I mean, humanities, but also social sciences is an area where you, let's say, as a society, always keep your individuality, but at the same time, you are looking for common agendas, and this is, I mean, the biggest challenge for this area of science.
Tade? Well, thank you so much. And our last two panelists, Sally and Krista, please.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with both about the importance of collaboration. I think the European Open Science Cloud is going to be crucial, and I think as arts and humanities researchers and research infrastructures, we've got to engage in this and take it as an opportunity, as Tadas just said. I think cultural heritage is absolutely crucial, so we need to bridge between the cultural heritage community and the arts and humanities community. And finally, about data, I think we really need to understand and make our data fair, the FAIR principles, but also CARE principles about ethical use of data moving forward. So they would be some of the things I would talk about.
And to chime in with all the previous speakers, I also think that it's important that we collaborate in the way that Daria and Clarin has already showed that we can do today. And we do that in order to see the big picture so that we don't get tangled up in the minutiae. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you. So before I pass on the microphone to Harald for an all-important organization announcements, don't go away then. We're going to listen to those, but please join me in a round of warm applause for our speakers today, our panelists, for these exciting contributions to this discussion that is starting in our conference. Thank you. Thank you. And now, Harald.
Thanks. Okay, I have two announcements, one about food, another about posters. Which you want first? Okay, I start with science because there is no chance you will stay after the food announcement. Okay, about the posters, some people have been coming to me and asking what will it be. So, tomorrow we will have demonstrations and poster sessions. You will indeed really have 1 minute, which means do not prepare presentations. You will just have time to say who you are, what's the institution, what's the title of your thing, and why it's interesting. It's basically just an introduction, so we see in face who is who, and then we have dedicated 60 minutes where you stand next to your poster and people are circling around and you can engage in longer conversations with ones who are really interested in your topic. Okay? That will happen on the 2nd floor. Another important thing is that the power supply is limited. It might sound strange, but come with charged computers if you want to demonstrate digital tools. We will try to get some supply cords, but not all 24 posters will have a cable attached to the stand. Okay, and if you have any questions about posters or anything organizational, just come up to me or anybody wearing this badge, Digital Humanities. Those are people from organizing part. Okay, the food. There is something called free lunch. It's, I don't know if it was intended or it's accidental, but it seems that we have more food than we expected. So in the coffee break part, there are tables with new food, fruits and cakes, coffee. If you want to eat proper lunch, there is cafeteria on that side. There might be a queue, but it usually goes quite quickly. And also there's another building over there where they also have a cafeteria. So if you find the queue too long, it's 5 minutes walk. Okay, Sanita, that's it. And we meet back at 2 straight with the next panel, Baltic DH landscape. Thank you, panelists.
Hello. Please take your seats, and I'm glad to greet you in this second panel of Baltic DH Forum. And in the morning session, we had some bird's-eye view on digital humanities on European level and regarding infrastructure and so. And now let me walk through digital humanities in Baltics. And for this reason, I would like to invite as first speakers our Lithuanian colleagues, Andriu Sutka, computational linguist, associated professor and senior researcher at Vytautas Magnus University, and Giedre Valūnaite Oleškevičiene from Mykolas Romeris University. Please, the floor is yours.
Oh, now. Hi, I'm Andriu Sutka, and together with Giedre Valūnaite Oleškevičiene, we'll present digital humanities in Lithuania. And we have the third author, that is Angelika Gaidienė from Institute of Lithuanian Language, that also helped to make this presentation. And you also see the providers of information. There are even more people, and as digital humanities is so broad, you see how many institutions are actually involved in Lithuania in making digital humanities, and probably it's not even all institutions I mentioned. So these are the ones that are in the presentation, but possibly, and probably this is true for other presenters, it's quite difficult to have an overview of the country's digital humanities. It's such a broad field. Okay, so let me start. So this is a plan. Basically, you see the list of many infrastructures, even 10 DH infrastructures in Lithuania, and that's the first part. Then we'll talk about DH projects and tools and use cases and DH future trends. Me and Giedre, we will switch our roles so that you will not be bored, that you will not sleep during our presentation. So Giedre will start.
Yeah, according to the best traditions of Eurovision, we have to switch. Okay, so during this first part presenting digital humanities infrastructures, we will also be switching between ourselves because some infrastructures are very well known for Andrius because he directly participates in them. So. And other, I am not maybe so directly participating, but others are better known for me, so we are going to switch. So starting with the first one, I would say why we chose to start with it, because it is the largest digital cultural heritage portal in Lithuania. It's our pride, in fact. Lithuanian pride in digital humanities. And if you see, no wonder why, because 20 partners are 24 institutions, libraries, museums, and so forth and so on. And let me move a little bit further to the following slide to present what this heritage portal has in itself. So as you can see, like content is over 500,000 items of cultural heritage, and very briefly you can see like digitalized books, expatriate periodicals, small print posters, proclamations, court records, church metrics, and other documents. And they embrace, all the documents embrace various periods. And also there are other exhibits of folk and applied art, traditional sculptures, digitalized audio recordings, museum collections. So it's really wide and huge portal. And it not only like resources, but also they have services, like personalized virtual exhibition service, music player services, map services, virtual reality, augmented reality services. So it is not only, portal with the various services, I would say it's a powerful project. Now when I start presenting cultural heritage, it just came to my mind that why we divide it like this, because I work more in diachronic semantic change, and these topics were closer to my heart. So culture heritage, this digitalization portal, I need to mention the developer, Lithuanian Museum Information, and Limis Center. So this portal, it's not only resources, but they publish information about legal acts, standards, recommendations, like relevant guidelines. Also provide links to virtual galleries created by Lithuanian memory institutions. And this digitalization portal is intended for memory institutions and other legal and natural persons. And if we move further, Clarin. Clarin is Andrews. He's the leader of Clarin, or one.
Yeah. Of course, we saw already similar slides from Krista, and I don't need to remind it, but all Baltic states are in Clarin. Lithuania, it's 10 years already in Clarin, and it's still working. So after 10 years, the network is still working. This is an amazing network. And for me, the top service in Clarin is this virtual language observatory. And currently it has more than 1 million records. And this observatory, it collects metadata from all the centers of the Clarin, which is 74 currently. And so this amazing place for digital humanities as well. And you see I made some search, use some keywords, like, for example, digital humanities. And it's hidden now. So the slides are distorted a little bit. But this is thousands of hits in digital humanities, in humanities, corpus, in libraries. You can find via this virtual language observatory. And what concerns Lithuania, this consortium of 5 members, 4 universities and 1 institute that participate in this consortium, and we have a repository for Lithuanian language resources. Currently it's 46, and it's administered by my institute, Institute of Digital Resources and Interdisciplinary Research. And so we also have our own repository, so it's connected. Clarin resources and Clarin LT Consortium repository resources are sort of reflected in these websites. And now from Clarin, I go to Lithuanian Language Institute. And they have also a portal called e-kalba, which is e-language. There's also a rich source of many resources of e-dictionaries, e-catalogs and databases, e-services, and it's quite complicated tree structure of e-kalba. So you see in this tree structure, there are dictionaries and bilingual dictionaries and catalogs and so on. So it's usually when people need Lithuanian dictionaries, definitions, and so on, they go into this portal. Lithuanian Language Institute also is a developer of the other system, which is spatial data infrastructure. So some of the language phenomena are with the geospatial linguistic data, they are coordinates, right? And so they're creating these amazing colorful maps. And there's also this portal, Maps LKILT, that has all that information. And so I'm not reading all the text, you can see that, but this is also an amazing thing. But the system is under development. It's getting bigger and richer. Okay, and we also have the Term Bank of the Republic of Lithuania. So this is the other institution, the State Commission of the Lithuanian languages involved. And here you, this is a state information system. It assures consistent use of approved terms, and especially when it works with ministries, in creation documents and Lithuanian legal acts. And so you see the numbers of terms is to 277,000 terms now there are in the Term Bank. Okay, now I'll switch again.
I will add just a little bit about terms because it also concerns my main work. Terms are very important for various services, for the state services, legal acts, and so on, for translators and interpreters. It's like, how to say, if we do not have, and I know that terminology still needs more development, more investment, so like this, each state should take care of terminology development. It's like inevitable for the language and for official language and for everything. Okay, now we move to the database of written heritage, also heritage. So here you can see just like the page and that you can see like original photocopied texts, digitalized. But also because our Institute of the Lithuanian Language, yes, they produce, I would say, most production in digital humanities, and they do a lot. So one of the institutions who work in that field. So now if we look at the structure, because maybe the slide doesn't have pictures, but it is more important than the previous one. So this is the corpus from written texts, and you can see from the first book in the 16th century until the formation of Standard Lithuanian. And what else is very important, it has digital tools for text processing. So for language analysis, for concordance generator, orthography changer, lemmatizer, especially important the orthography changer. It's not so easy to work with the old texts and make them analyzable. And resources for language processing, like internal lexicons of morphology analyzer, structured database of lemmas and morphology, also important for like morphologically rich languages for analysis. So it's not only digitalized resource, but also resource with the tools. So, and this is also, I would say, the Institute of Lithuanian Language should be proud of such product. Also, we have Lithuanian Folklore Archives database. it is, I would say, that heritage is very important for language preservation and maybe even for future generations. I do hope that with such small population, the Lithuanian language survives. Like to broaden the vocabulary, to keep the language rich. So the database contains collections of Lithuanian Science Society, you see, Lithuanian folklore archives taken from Kaunas, and materials from other sources. And currently, you can see they include 3 million manuscripts, files with sound, photographs and negatives, documents. But if we think historically, it's still not so huge, but I can tell you all these resources are still developing. They are not like just created and closed. So you can see what the resources are here: folk music, phonogram collection, folk tales, narrative, riddles, folk beliefs, post-war guerrilla songs, and I know that the Institute of Lithuanian Literature, they are still continuing to collect post-war guerrilla materials if people volunteer to give that material to them. I think, Andrius, it's your raštijėltė, or no? Or mine.
Okay, I can take it.
I forgot if I promised.
This Raštijėltė is a portal for EU structural funds projects. They were big projects, and you see 4 of them. One is for speech recognition, for corporate NLP tools, for machine translation system, and so on. So there were 2 funding periods, and the projects are reflected in this portal, and we thought it's also important to mention them here. And now we also go to the second part, which is DH tools and projects, and I will start presenting here. Of course, there are many tools. So these 3 is just the ones that may be more recent. The Lithuanian language has a very peculiar accent, so the accents jump in words, and not only foreigners or learners of Lithuanian have difficulties, but also Lithuanian school children have difficulties in putting the correct accent. Yeah. So this tool is very useful because you put a text and it automatically accentuates you. Also, there are a number of tools in Semantica 2 portal. So it's automatic speech transcription, service, text analysis and spelling, and automatic summarization. So it's a portal of different NLP services and tools. And Morphocles is a tool we'll present in poster, so I'm taking advantage of me presenting it. So please, if you have any questions about this tool, you can come up to my poster together with Virginijus Tadberkavičius that is the creator of this tool. And I'll switch again.
And now about these, we pushed like 4 things in one slide, as if we are going to save the time, but okay. So mostly, as I have mentioned, the Institute of the Lithuanian Language, they are the team, they are working on like impactful projects, but when we started looking at the panoramic view, and we found that there are some projects and resources scattered all over the world. And if you see in the left top corner, you can see Miežinis dictionary. It's the first dictionary, and during my research, and it is included in BabelNet, like linked data and digitalized in Indiana University. So the work is done even in the United States of America. No, I guess most probably by people who have Lithuanian ancestry. Another international project is the Old Lithuanian Corpus Sliekas, double K. This project is being carried out. It's still developed in Goethe University in Frankfurt, together with the Lithuanian together with the Institute of the Lithuanian Language, and it is really useful for. But many resources are useful, but this one also is very useful for tracing the semantic change. And they are going to prepare it like a very good resource, but it's still on the development. Another resource is the Voices of Spring, digital archive and scholarly edition. The poetry and works by our national Lithuanian poet Maironis. Also, it is really well organized, that everything, like facsimile, it includes facsimiles, like ORC, photocopy texts, digitalized, transcribed, and everything. And one more, also amazing resource, also cultural. It is like inside the Vilnius Ghetto virtual music tour. If it's interesting because you just go on the map and you can go on the dots on the map and you can follow the history, the historical resources. And yes, and now we can slowly move to the third part, the use cases. The use cases, we wanted to we are just presenting like, we have time, we have 2 minutes. 2 use cases because they are, I guess that in the world there are more use cases, but these are just 2 examples. So one is related very closely to Sliekas, so linguistic linked open data for diachronic analysis, LLOD. It's still on the development, and here in that use case we carried it out within the cost action Nexus Linguarum, and here we tried to connect, because it's to link the linguistic data from from 5 languages, French, Hebrew, Latin, and Lithuanian. And as I already mentioned, on Lithuanian resources was used Sliekas. And this I just show this picture just to see visually that linking process. But yeah, I need to move to another slide. But and I was planning like this, just to show that it takes effort and how it looks. And another use case is detecting the same under the same cost, detecting offensive language in Lithuanian. So we used quite modern, simplified offensive language taxonomy produced by our colleagues in Poland, and from resources from Clarin, Corpus Litis, user-generated comments, and part is already annotated. They are still on annotation process. Annotation tool is Inception, just visually to show, and I should give the future trends.
Yeah, and we'll finish it with the outlook and how it all looks for DH in Lithuania. So the question is, does the future look bright for DH in Lithuania? And I think it looks bright, and it's because we see from the plans in different projects that digitization of heritage objects will intensify, and it intensifies. We also expect huge amounts of written data to be digitized and compiled because of the two initiatives. It's like Altedic and Next Generation Lithuania. So it's two funding programs that invest a lot into this. And of course, we see, as the speakers today also notice that AI will play a much greater role in how we perceive and make DH projects and services. And we think this is all very good news for DH in Lithuania, because this means that there will be more open and accessible data and tools for DH projects and services. And this is our end. Last slide. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrius and Giedre. I already envy Lithuania for those beautiful tools. And now I'd like to invite Normons Gruzītis, Associated Professor at University of Latvia and the lead researcher at Institute of Mathematics and Computer Sciences, to present situation in here.
So, good afternoon, everyone. And I have been trusted to speak on behalf of 6 institutions, which is Institute of Mathematics and Computer Science, MCS, National Library of Latvia, Livonian Institute, Rezekne Academy of Technology, Latvian Language Institute, and the Institute of Literature, Folklore and Art. And all the institutes are associated with the University of Latvia. So, yeah, a big honor and also a big challenge to go through everything. But since the mic is given to me, I also added language technology as another important keyword in addition to DH. So both these fields, digital humanities and language technology, have been thriving for over 30 years in Latvia, and especially over the last decade, I would say. But of course, this didn't appear out of the blue. There was a history even before that. So it has gradually evolved, but especially rapidly in the recent years. And therefore also this presentation will mainly cover, well, last about 5 years or so. And well, now actually it has become the norm to use different digital tools, resources, language technology methods, and tools for doing research in this area. This is not something strange anymore. But another characteristics, at least what I always see in our community, is this very strong collaboration that has established, I would say, yes, 4, maybe 5 years ago. Before we were more fragmented, and now we are becoming more and more collaborative in our efforts. Of course, funding has helped a lot, but there are things that you cannot buy for money, and this is high morale and enthusiasm, which is really characterized by this field, and I hope you will see it also in our outcomes. So work in this area is done in different directions and also in several dimensions. And of course, research and development of resources on one side, and then transfer of this knowledge from research to education. Also, a lot of outreach and dissemination activities, especially in the last years. Also, more open science and citizen science approaches are being used, and this has made this field more visible also outside our community. Regarding funding, yes, of course, this is important, don't get me wrong. Enthusiasm is not sufficient to achieve all these results, but it's still an important component. Well, research in Latvia, as you all know, and maybe in other Baltic states, is pretty much project-based, so competitive funding. And it used to be that the so-called base funding was only about 10% at least for our research group, and we had to compete for the rest 90%. Now the situation is much better. Already about 30% of is covered by the base funding. But still, we have managed to live in these very competitive times. Yes, there have been different projects. I will not go through this list. This is just as an illustration, and this is not a complete list. These are just some main directions and main funding areas that we have covered. But again, collaboration is one aspect, and that all these different research areas, directions, and projects are becoming much more integrated. What we are doing in one project, we are always thinking how it relates to another one, and this makes all this DH field in Latvia much more interconnected. And from now on, I will just highlight some of the outcomes that we have produced over those last 5 or so years. But by no means this will be everything. So one such example is our national corpora collection, and also a platform for analysis of text and speech corpora. It all started as just a simple, static, old school web page for a single corpus, and then over some 7 years, it has evolved into a resource which covers 37 corpora already created by certain institutions, and it provides federated search, not all, but most of the corpora are annotated using the same morphological and syntactic annotation scheme, so you can do cross search among those corpora. And this has become much more used tool also for other researchers. Basically a standard method nowadays. And well, among those 37 corpora, there are of course general purpose corpora, and there are about 11 such mainstream general corpora, but then there are also a lot of specialized corpora, like these few ones. Well, you cannot read the text, but the idea here is that, well, you can enter a search in just modern Latvian orthography, like for instance searching for the word heart, and among other, you'll instantly see how this word is used in different corpora, so therefore in different domains and etc. And you can see that, well, it's also used in a specific medical text corpus, which has been created in collaboration with our largest hospital, or there is a specialized corpus of newspaper literature and art, which has been collected by the National Library of Latvia and also hosted by them. And also a corpus of early written Latvian, which can also be searched using modern orthography, because behind the scenes there is developed a set of transliteration tools which unifies all this into the modern orthography. You can also, with the same query, search, for instance, the Latgalian text corpus and see how this word is used in Latgalian texts and so on. So. Just by one quick click, you can get the picture of the word usage and then dig deeper. And this resource is now used more and more. Another large platform that has been created is a unified lexical platform, thesaurs.lv, which again also started just as a single dictionary, but then evolved into a really advanced and multifaceted platform for both digitizing existing dictionaries and creating new ones, creating corpus-based dictionaries. And well, there are a lot of features around this platform. You can integrate examples directly from selected corpora. You can assign inflectional paradigms and then get inflectional tables for the words, and also this information is then automatically imported into morphological analysis tools. There are a lot of different semantic and derivation links defined behind the scenes, which facilitates the search and analysis of those words and the word usage and so on. But then, yeah, it started as a single dictionary, but then we managed to add to this platform one dictionary, second, third, fourth, and so on, and so the functionality has expanded, and now we also provide this platform for the Latvian Language Institute, and they are developing the modern Latvian dictionary on this platform, and also a Latgalian dictionary is being created here. It's not yet public, but the work has already begun. So we just had to a little bit adjust this platform to support all these needs. Also, a dictionary, a historical dictionary of Latvian, and so on. And to move on. Another thing to highlight is what our colleagues at Latvian Language Institute are doing, and among other things, and apart from the work on the modern Latvian language dictionary, they are also they're working on Latvian place names and regional names, and or basically all different names and words that can be attributed with some geographic location. They are using crowdsourcing methods to get the data, and then they are applying scientific methods to analyze this data, including field research, and all this is registered into databases, and eventually is being put on an interactive map. Then, yeah, I'm very happy what's happening in Reizekne Technology Academy. They are working on the language resources for Latgalian. And again, a relatively small team, but a very enthusiastic and very active one. And a lot of things are happening there, and we have also collaborated in many aspects with them. So they have created a balanced corpus of modern Latgalian language, which is a text corpus, but then there is also a speech corpus as well for Latgalian. And we can already start to think about training a Latgalian speech recognition model from this data. They have also participated in another crowdsourcing activity to collect more data, spoken language data for Latgalian, and then we have helped them to create a morphological parser, and which will eventually lead into a morphological tagger. This is an ongoing work. So a lot of things are happening also for the Latgalian language. Then, of course, when you need a lot of data, one can first of all think about their national libraries, and our national library also provides different services, tools, and data, and their approach is a very interesting one. So they provide data sets on demand, which I think is quite challenging as well. But nevertheless, you can approach them and ask for certain data sets, and then they will help you to create this data set and provide you. And if necessary, they can also do some data curation, which is of course quite a labor-intensive task. So it depends on how you agree with them. But then again, there is behind the scenes, there is a collaboration, for instance, in using this Latvian NLP pipeline for processing the text corpora created by the National Library, etc. And then they are hosting their own instance, which is part of this already mentioned National Corpus Collection Platform. So we are integrated with them, and then also a lot of different tools and sandboxes to experiment with data, to visualize the data, etc. And just to highlight one particular tool developed at the library, this is this Latvian prose counter, which allows to explore in quantitative terms the 19th and 20th century Latvian prose. But it's also a demonstrator tool. What can you imagine? What are the possibilities of such tools, and what you can do with your textual, structured, and other kinds of data, and how to visualize all of this. And then gradually new services appear, which are served by the library as their core services eventually from this. Then another key actor in the Latvian DH area is Institute of Literature, Folklore and Art. And well, over the time they have developed a lot of different tools and platforms, and now they are working on integration them into a common ecosystem, which they call HUMA. But they have been also the pioneers here in Latvia to use crowdsourcing methods to involve society into all this research and labor-intensive tasks, and then we other partners have learned from them how to actually use successfully these crowdsourcing methods. Yes, a lot of things are going on at ILFA. Then moving on, so we usually say that Latvian is a small language. Well, relatively small. Then Latgalian is 10 times smaller than Latvian. But when we come to Livonian, I will not guess how many speakers there are, but not that much. Few. I will stick with few. Nevertheless, there is a very active research group, Livonian Institute, working not only on the language resources, but on Livonian cultural resources, digitizing those resources, also participating into educational activities and different outreach activities, taking part into development of national policies, and they're also partners in task forces for digital equality. The United Nations and so on. But apart from this work, they have also managed to create an impressive digital platform for Livonian resources, which consists of dictionary, a morphological database, then there is also a place name database with geospatial links, and the corpus, both text and speech corpus, and other data collections. So yeah, pretty amazing. Clarin, again, mentioned, I think, in all presentations today, as you already saw. But what I would like to emphasize is, yes, that even though there has been only a fragmented funding for Clarin over these years, we still have managed, first of all, to certify our Latvia center as a Clarin B center, which also means that we are Core Trust Seal certified repository. I think the first repository in Latvia that received this certification among all repositories of different kinds. And the consortium is well, you can see here the members of the core consortium. But then again, at the beginning, we had to conduct those campaigns to inform about Clarin and to show how to deposit resources, or at least to register them so that other researchers can find them and that there exist such resources. Now, similarly as DH method, the Clarin repository gradually becomes as a norm. When you create something, you at least register your resource there, because first of all, not only others can find it, others can cite it, and it becomes very handy also for us to give links to our resources, to specific versions, etc. And then from campaigns, it's becoming a norm to use such a repository. And then, yet from a different perspective, one thing to highlight, I think this is the last thing from the highlight section, is a large collaborative project called Language Technology Initiative, which has, well, different goals, interrelated goals. First of all, it's about education, how to modernize our study programs which are related to language, to bring in the language technology both for developers of technology and for the users. And from today's perspective, the users is this large and thriving DH community that use different language resources and tools, and so education on one side and then the research on the other side. But at the end, it's knowledge transfer from research into education that we are doing here. And already several new study modules have been created and are being appropriated this semester. But then just to illustrate this idea of how from research we go to education and what happens there. So together with partners, we launched this very successful crowdsourcing initiative to boost the Common Voice speech corpus for Latvian. It was a very tiny one before this campaign, and now it's a pretty large speech corpus. But now this data has been processed and provided also to this national corpus collection, and linguists can use this data set as yet another data to look for speech data and to compare how people use these or other words in different contexts, or how to pronounce them. This is on one side. On another side is that, well, this data has been used to train open source speech recognition models, which are now state-of-the-art models for Latvian, and they are freely available as open source models, both to computer science students, for instance, who can then create different services and tools on top of those, on top of such basic models. It can be also, of course, used by the industry, but also these speech recognition models are used by the DH community in another project where we are working on creating a more balanced and diverse speech corpus for Latvian, and then such model can help linguists to get the initial draft of transcriptions, which are just then post-edited instead of transcribing from scratch everything. So all these resources are at the end interconnected and used by different parties for different purposes. Yes, and then just quickly running through the rest of the slides. They are mostly related related to educational activities, but apart from this formal higher education activities, there are also already a series of Baltic summer schools on digital humanities organized by the National Library of Latvia, and you're welcome to participate also this year. Then there have been organized online seminars addressing different specific topics of digital humanities. These seminars maybe are more addressed to well, of course, also for general public, but more addressed for the members of this DH community. But then there's also a YouTube channel where now and then new series are added to the series of digital humanities news and video podcasts, how to use this or that resource or tool to achieve your goals, and just to explain in general terms what the digital humanities are about and what are the problems that are being solved. Again, for Latgalian, there are different educational activities, and one more aspect here that they are covering is that they are producing videos for both for training students at the school level, but also for teachers. Educational materials also for teachers that teach Latgalian language in school, and some other. They are also involved in international activities regarding education. And then again, within the Clarin Knowledge Center, we are organizing also different information seminars and educational seminars where specific groups gather together, and well, then we tell about, for instance, how to use syntactic corpus, how to create speech corpora, etc. So yeah, I definitely agree to Andrius that the future looks very bright to our field, and yeah, let's see what we will achieve in the next years. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So much information. I'm glad there are only 3 Baltic countries, otherwise my head will burst. But for our last presentation, I'm happy to invite 2 representatives of Estonian Literary Museum, and that would be leading researcher Mari Sarv, folklorist, just like me, and specialist of digital services Kadri Vider. Please, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, and thank you for organizers for inviting us here to explain the situation in Estonia. And our presentation is totally different of the previous ones. We skip the part of resources and tools and look more into the organization of this disciplinary field. And Tom's asked also to give some historical perspective. Then I have 2 slides about the yearly developments. So first computer was brought into Tartu University in 1959, and my uncle, this is a personal note, my uncle was then a graduate student at this department and remembers vividly how it happened, so it was huge, and you know. But already yearly on in 60s, there came around, like in the meeting reports, that folklorists, I am focusing on or giving more examples on folkloristics because this is my field, that folklorists but also linguists should use computers for their research. And you know, the countries in this region have all large, vast folklore collections, and that's no wonder that folklorists are also in forefront in digital humanities in Latvia, as this means there are lots of material, and this is all about studying how this material is organized and variates, and it would be really natural to use computers to sort out this. Like the first push towards digitalization of humanities was a group of generative grammar at the Tartu University, which was led by Professor of Linguistics, Language History, Huno Rätsep. And this was something that brought together linguists and mathematicians, and they tried to use computational or mathematical methods for the analysis of language, and this gave a new direction to the linguistics in Estonia. And there were several young researchers, students, or young researchers included into this group, and they became later prominent leaders in this computational humanities. And they organized conferences and publications in language and structure and something. So the Department of Computational Linguistics was established by Haldur Rõim and his colleague More Koit, I believe. And there was quite early on also a curriculum for studying computational linguistics. And the other person from this GGG is Mart Remmel, who was also a bright mind trying to implement computational analysis in humanities and wider. He established sector of computational linguistics at the Institute of Estonian Language. And also from this group, you see the wide range of activities he performed with this group. And also first folkloristic research. There was a lot of impact to linguistics, but I myself, being keen to folkloristics, just wanted to highlight that there was Ingrid Rüütel and Koit Haugost developed a computational method for typologization of folk melodies, and also Arvo Krikman used this from this sector of computational linguistics, used computers for analysis of folkloric variation. And he has also a nice overview about info technology in the life of humanities researchers. It starts with the phrase, every morning when I wake up, I thank God for two things, that there is no more Soviet regime and that there are computers. So, and he starts his story with perfo cards, but then again this Felix machines, and how it became clear how hard was real computing, simple computing before the machines came, but then how also personal computers evolved, and first these small calculators, how somehow he got from abroad a small calculator, and then could perform calculations on proverbs, something like that. It's, Arvo Krickman was also my supervisor, so that's why I delved deeply into it. But then those both researchers, Arvo Krickman and Ingrid Rüütel, were working with folklore, were related to Estonian Literary Museum, and this, our institution is somewhat specific. It has large collections and also research related to it. So since mid-90s, all the material were already collected in digital format. So, and the systematic digitization started already early on. But something that wasn't coming from itself was specialists with the abilities to use computational methods for this text analysis. So the people tried to self-educate themselves, but like this kind of memory institutions, also like archives, libraries, they have large collections, but the universities sometimes, like in Estonian case at least, universities do not manage such a large collections, so maybe for them this need to introduce the computational analysis methods into humanities curricula in universities is not so evident or has not been. This has been a pressing need in our institution. How do we get the people with the good skills? And then we organized a conference series on digital humanities, trying to find who in humanities were dealing with computational analysis methods, and also tried to push the universities to include something also for humanists, others than linguists. Linguists enjoyed from, as I said, from 1990s, yes, already the curriculum of computational linguistics, but the other humanists barely had any touch with it, like how to use computers in their studies if the materials occur to be digital. Of course, currently, all the things that, like phenomena that humanists study are pretty much moved already in digital spheres, like interaction and folkloric communication happens much in maybe those social media environments or chat windows or whatever. So linguists already had by then their established fields and organizations and also research networks, and they had no need for new cover term. But now to current DH landscape, maybe in light of the previous papers or presentations, I should say that there has been mass digitization and every kind of like, you see all the institutions who have large material collections, they have been pushed to put them, make them available, to digitize them. This has been a like state policy for all larger units, managing humanities collections. And you have universities, you have a lot of like research and GLAM institutions who either have collections or do research on that, on large materials. And also there are spin-offs and IT companies who might support the researchers in developing their infrastructures, but also help to apply the methodologies available in computational spheres. And also national boards have sometimes managed the information or data sets or collections related to humanities research. For example, Land Board manages the map layer of place lore and other such kind of examples. So there is a intermingled field, and there are different activities and programs how this DH performs itself. So there are developed different centers and labs within those institutions, and every institution has its research and infrastructure projects. There are some curricula in main universities, which, for example, I have heard are still not too popular. Digital humanities curriculum among humanities students. It is hard to find students to those who would be interested to learn more in themselves into digital tools and methods. And everyone has his or it's not his or her. All the institutions have also international cooperation in their specific field and within like digital infrastructures or research projects. So there are national humanities collections and archives which state has been pushing to make openly accessible, and there is also this Clarinerik node in Estonia with the Center of Estonian Language Resources, which is currently in the transition from Tartu University to Estonian Language Institute, so it's a bit unfunctional at the moment. And there has been special funding programs for the language technology and like digital humanities or Estonian language and culture in digital era. And also currently in those competitive research grant assessments, the digital research has been favored has favorable position. And there are a lot of open tools because those programs have required that everything would be open. But there is still a way to progress with the implementation of FAIR principles in humanities research, so to make the research reproducible by the end of all the letters. And what is now the most new outlooks? There is 2 new centers of excellence that foster transdisciplinary collaboration, including the fields of digital humanities. One is Center of Excellence in Artificial Intelligence, and the other is about Estonian roots, and both like gather together the data and knowledge and methods and research of different disciplines, not only humanities, but in the last case also natural sciences and genetics and stuff like that. And there is some kind of interinstitutional informal working group for advancement of Estonian language and culture in large language models. But the digital humanities as cover term is not meaningful for everyone acting in the field of intersection of humanities and info technology. There have been proposed every kind of different newer or more fresh approaches or names or subfields within this, and the digital humanities as a concept has been kind of already acquiring some old-fashioned impression. And we also have noticed that it has been the idea that digital humanities is not necessary concept, that because all the humanities are moving towards like it is towards using digital like materials, methods. So it's about moving towards general digitalization of humanities research. But now I give word to Kadri.
So, to find out what the digital humanities means and how the people act in this scene, we made a little survey. We had 2 weeks ago first annual conference of Estonian humanities, and there we just asked participants to make a survey which is anonymous and takes no more than 5 minutes. And that was good point of view, because we got already 71 respondents for that survey. So the questions of the survey were: how much of the source material of your research is in digital form? The conference was regular humanities, not digital humanities. So how much the source material of your research, the humanist research, is in digital form? And some hints were also added, like digital form has, for example, so on, so on. Then another question: in your research, do you use what kind of things? You can choose several answers. And then, what is your main research area or areas? And that was also a free text box to add, but we gave some hints as well. And then another scale question was: do you consider yourself a digital humanitarian? We needed the information from the people, not from the institutions, how they consider themselves. And the last long text box question was: what is a digital humanities for you? So, let's see. The feeling and sources. The questions: do you consider yourself digital humanists, versus how much of the source material of your research is in digital form. So the green bubbles are linguists, we had more than half, or exact half of respondents were linguists. And of course, they have more source material in digital form, and also they consider themselves to be more, maybe more in a digital humanist field. But also the history and literary studies, the history are less digital humanists maybe, and also they have a little less sources in digital form. But also the cultural studies and literary studies are less oriented in a digital form in the research. And also we asked, in your research, do you use this kind of things? And that was good to see that almost everybody use digital archives and datasets. The line, the horizontal line is against the question, do you consider yourself as a digital humanitarian? So here are the response, the most digital humanitarian response. But everybody uses digital archives and datasets. And also almost everybody uses collects from web their data and their sources. Artificial intelligence is rising. The use of artificial intelligence is rising, and there is no exact distribution between the less or more digital humanitarian responses. But the writing code seems to come together with the feeling with the more digital humanitarian. But good to see is that computational methods are pretty nicely distributed everywhere. And the others, the sixth line, these are answers were in a minority, and there wasn't things like could be mentioned that something very special for digital humanities. Maybe some more specialized answers. So, and the last question, what is digital humanities for you? That was really nice that the different fields in humanities, they have a different point of view into the digital humanities. Surprising for me, I'm a linguist, computational linguist, corpus linguist, and so on and so on. For me, that was surprising that cultural studies said that digital humanities is also mediating digital culture and methods and content with a digital dimension. That was really different from my point of view into the digital humanities. But also the historians, they stress that the digital humanities is a way of thinking, opportunities, and also they mention also it's the digital humanities itself is a transitional concept. So the concept itself is in transition. And then the literary studies, as historians also said that digital humanities is a digital methods for them. but also the digital tools, computational methods, and qualitative research as well. Then the linguists didn't stress the qualitative research, as also the linguists actually didn't stress the mediating, or didn't look at this point of view that digital humanities could be mediating digital culture. So the folklorists also say that it's a way of thinking, it's opportunities, but most of the folklorists stress that it's a computational analysis of their data. But the linguists, they mentioned something all from the above mentioned, but they stress very much the data in digital form. So that they use data, linguist data, and that must be in digital form. And there's a word cloud about the most prominent content words of the answers to this question, and some citations from the linguists, that digital humanities is a data-driven humanities using digital tools and methods, or everything in the field of humanities where digital solutions can help. So, but now is advertising time. We ask you to come next year in Tartu to Estonia, because the Digital Humanities in Nordic and Baltic countries conference will be held there in our hometown. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I can add that Tartu is always worth visiting. So we went through this DH landscape in Baltic countries, but it turned out so rich that we had almost run out of time. So there are only 2 minutes for discussion. In situation, I think I will not invite you on the stage, but I can give you a mix. And maybe as you were, I believe, watching and comparing situation in your countries, there is some question you would like to ask between yourselves for the record to neighbors. Vai šos mikrofonus ieslēdz attālināti vai? So, here.
Hello. I have a question to Latvians and Lithuanians about educating humanists other than linguists in use of digital methods. How is this organized? Is it organized? Is there curricula for that?
I think, as you, Lithuanians also have difficulties in collecting students for digital humanities curricula. For example, I'm lecturing digital humanities general course, like introduction to digital humanities. And not many students really choose the course. So we have difficulty. I don't know why, but it's like this. But people that are interested in digital humanities and education should come tomorrow to digital humanities panel. So it's not that that's advertising for tomorrow's panel.
Well, I'm not sure, but I guess that in Latvia the situation is quite the opposite. That we do have students that attend courses which not always implicitly, but explicitly contain all the DH methods, tools, resources, and well, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, they're doing it casually. Yeah.
And I also think that there is that mixture, digital humanities and computational linguistics. And computational linguistics is quite popular among young people. I would include also because they have to work close to each, like in a team. So. And I wanted to thank you so much for saying these words about your academic advisor, that he was looking and saying, no computers and no Soviet regime. It's a heaven.
So, the future is bright, the future is here with computers.
I would like just to add that...
the last word, please. Then.
Okay, we have learned to collaborate in between, inside our countries. We have learned to collaborate with partners in Europe, but I think our collaboration between Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia is not on the same level as nationally and internationally, I mean, outside Baltic states. So maybe there is something, at least, well, from what I can see.
I absolutely agree, because even I met my colleague, not colleague, even a friend in Equia, and she says, I feel that we need to have more collaboration between the Baltic states. So, yeah, more like deeper integration, as if it was like one big region, or like...
And we have a conference at least, which will continue. And Anda?
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to add, tomorrow we will have a panel about education and digital humanities, but just for now, in addition to the project that will be presented tomorrow, which is Language Technology Initiative. So in Latvia, we already have several programs. One of them is at the Riga Technical University, master's level program, Digital Humanities, which is conducted in English. So everybody from Baltic states is welcome there. And on the master's level at the University of Latvia, they have a module that is a joint module for the humanities students and social sciences students. And there they have introductory course, which is mandatory. This is why there are many students there. And then there are some B courses that are that they can choose, but they are pretty good attended, I would say. And our problem is that there are many courses and they are not harmonized among each other, and they overlap a little bit or a lot.
Thank you. And I think, sadly, we should finish this panel. We are already over time, and I would invite you, or you would like to say those words? Okay, the words are we should move a little bit and breathe some air and have some coffee to be ready for Daria workshop, which will be already in 25 minutes.
Words before you move. So many people are excited about what will be in poster sessions, so I can tell more. It will be 1 minute long, which means that at 45 seconds there will be a sound. There will be static slide of your presentation on a screen, having your name of authors, title and institutions. And exactly at 1 minute, screen will go black, which is a sign that time is over, and if it's not enough, after 10 seconds, mic will go out. And because we have really 24 people with 1 minute, and we don't want to have 3 or 5 minutes. So that was the first thing. Yes, so I already started. So in this program, posters are numbered 1 to 24, means you are in poster session 1, and 25 to 48, you are in poster session 2. And those lightning presentations will be in the exact order as it's numbered in the program. Oh, it might be obvious, but just to state the obvious. And then, yes, in a short while, exactly at 4, we have a Darya workshop. It's not in this room, it's over the corridor. It's room 105, where Sally Chambers will dive deeper into what Darya EU can give to you as a researcher. You will have chance to ask questions and learn what you want to know. And then after that, you are all welcome to a reception where we have some food and also some wine. So how to get there? I advise you to take the stair, so then you get onto the second floor atrium, where actually you can already see your posters exhibited. Okay? Alternatively, you can just take the elevator and go to the floor number 7, and you will find the reception place. There will be some signs from elevator, right? Okay, we'll do it. There will be noise. Okay, so with that, we have another coffee break and some snacks over there, and let's meet exactly at 4 in auditorium 105.